What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, tonight marks the night that undefeated WBC lightweight world champion superstar boxer Devin "The Dream" Haney. 26 wins, no losses, no draws. 15 wins by way of knockout. He is 5'8" with a 72-inch arm reach. 23 years of age. He will be taking on former IBF super featherweight world champion, Mexican superstar boxer Joseph "Jojo" Diaz. 32 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. 15 wins by way of knockout. 28 years of age, stands at 5'4" with a 64-inch arm reach. With that said, this is considered to be the biggest step-up fight in Devin Haney's career against Joseph "Jojo" Diaz, okay? Joseph Diaz obviously has a lot of experience. He's been in the ring with Mr. Gary Russell Jr., the longest reigning champion in the history, in the sport of boxing today. Joseph Diaz, he took the belt from Terry Farmer. So a lot of people are looking at this fight between Devin "The Dream" Haney and Joseph "Jojo" Diaz as the biggest fight of his career. Now, Devin Haney, he did beat in his last fight 3-division world champion superstar Jorge Linares in his last fight, okay? And he did beat, 3-division world champion, Olympic gold medalist Yuriorkis Gamboa. So he has been in the ring with some experienced fighters, but obviously Joseph "Jojo" Diaz is seen to be closer to his prime than the rest of the fighters, okay? Jorge Linares and Yuriorkis Gamboa. Devin Haney seems to still be obviously on the rise, okay? Devin Haney is yet to have, the mega massive showdown. He's been seeking out the biggest fights. We know he's been seeking out to become undisputed in the lightweight division, create history. There's been undisputed world champions in the history of the sport, in the lightweight division in the sport of boxing, but none held all 4 major sanction belts, okay? So Devin Haney is on the quest to become undisputed in the lightweight division. He will be the 7th undisputed world champion in history of the sport of boxing to hold all 4 major sanction belts and hold the Ring magazine and hold the rights to the lineage at the lightweight division. So that's what he's seeking out. He was seeking out a showdown, obviously, with another superstar lightweight boxer, former unified lightweight champion, Teofimo Lopez. But Teofimo Lopez, he was upset by Australian star boxer, who is now the newly crowned unified lightweight world champion superstar, George Kambosos Jr. So with that said, Devin Haney, he's looking to get past Joseph "Jojo" Diaz en route to a mega showdown with Jorge Linares, with George Kambosos Jr. in Australia, okay? George Kambosos Jr., he stated that if a fight does take place between himself and Devin Haney, the fight has to take place in Australia. With that said, let's get to this fight at hand. We have to get past the task at hand if you're Devin Haney, and possibly if you're Joseph Diaz. Joseph Diaz is looking to become a 2-division world champion. As I stated, Joseph Diaz, he won the IBF title at super featherweight. So Joseph Diaz, he's looking to history and accomplishments in his own right. Now, the thing here is that Joseph Diaz, shockingly, he moved up to lightweight 135 from 130 and 126 after missing weight. He missed weight on the scale. He lost his belt on the scale. So he moved up in weight, and he's looking to, become a 2-division champion. And shockingly, Joseph Diaz, he fought against Javier Fortuna, which many people thought it was too early for him to come up from a division below to come all the way up to lightweight and challenge a rough, rugged opponent like Javier Fortuna. But he dominated Javier Fortuna in that fight, and he got a unanimous decision victory over Javier Fortuna. He showed that he belongs in his weight class, okay? So the thing is, Joseph Diaz, he has glaring weaknesses. The glaring weakness is his foot speed. That happens to be one of the strengths of Devin Haney, okay? Joseph Diaz can be very flat-footed. He's aggressive with his style. He has respectable power, but he's 5'6", okay, with a 64-inch arm reach. Devin Haney is going to have a 7-inch arm reach advantage over Joseph "Jojo" Diaz, and he's going to have a 4-inch height, nearly a 4-inch to 3 to 4-inch height advantage over Joseph "Jojo" Diaz. And Devin Haney is viewed to have arguably the best jab in the sport of boxing. That's what Devin Haney is viewed to have arguably the best jab in the sport of boxing. So you put all of those pieces together. Devin Haney has a very high ring IQ, very athletic, very quick, and he's the bigger man. Now, we saw when Joseph Jojo Diaz, when he fought against Mr. Gary Russell Jr., okay, Joseph Jojo Diaz, obviously he lost to Gary Russell Jr. That was back in May of 2018. But Gary Russell Jr., at times he could be flat-footed, okay? He makes you miss in a phone booth. He has very, very fast hands, arguably the fastest hands in the sport of boxing. Gary Russell Jr., 31 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 18 wins by way of knockout. He is 33 years of age, 5'4", with a 64-inch arm reach. So Joseph Diaz and Gary Russell Jr., they're the same size, but Gary Russell Jr. has a very, very high ring IQ. Gary Russell Jr. is a very, is good to great pure boxer. He has respectable power, and he's a southpaw, okay? And we saw in the pocket, he was making Joseph Jojo Diaz miss. We see his jab was bothering Joseph Jojo Diaz. We saw his left hand was bothering Joseph Diaz, the straight right hand. And ultimately, the body work of Gary Russell Jr., okay, that was bothering Joseph Jojo Diaz. So the size, the length of Devin Haney, I peg that to bother Joseph Jojo Diaz. I personally think that Devin Haney's jab will be able to control the pace of the fight, okay? I believe that Devin Haney's, he doesn't get enough respect for his power, okay? Devin Haney, he just simply doesn't get enough respect and enough credit for his power. And many people, they peg Devin Haney as to having a weak chin because his fight with Jorge Linares in the 10th round, in which a fight he was dominating, he dominated rounds 1 through 10, and 10 seconds left in the 10th round. Jorge Linares, who is a 3-division champion, okay, who's a superstar and possibly a Hall of Famer, he threw a 4 or 5 punch combination. The last punch got through, it clipped Devin Haney, and it buzzed him. And from that point on, people started to say that Devin Haney was chinny, okay? He didn't have a strong chin, okay? But we saw a lot of greats get buzzed. We saw Floyd Mayweather, who's considered to be arguably the greatest defensive fighter in the history of the sport of boxing, along with Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker, along with James Toney, Willie Pep. All of these guys have all been put down at some point in time in their careers, except Floyd Mayweather. He never hit the deck. But you saw him visibly hurt and visibly buzzed when he faced off against Jamarcus Chop Chop Corley, when he fought against Shane Mosley. Obviously, we remember that second round when he was hurt badly twice. We saw Floyd Mayweather hurt against numerous of fighters, okay? We've seen him in his position, but he's considered to be the best fighter in the world, okay? The best defensive fighter in the sport of boxing, okay? And so you saw him in there with a guy like Emmanuel Augustus, who was unorthodox, and he seemingly hurt Floyd Mayweather. You saw him in there with Marcos El Chino Maidana. He buzzed Floyd Mayweather. So it happens in the sport of boxing. You see Pernell Whitaker, who's considered a defensive wizard. We saw him on the deck numerous of times by lesser opponents. We saw, Willie Pep hit the deck, okay? We saw, James Toney hit the deck. We saw this in, historically in the sport of boxing. So that doesn't mean that you don't have a sturdy chin because you get buzzed. It happens, okay? So this is the sport of boxing. I know we say you should always swim without getting wet, but guess what? At the end of the day, this is once you jump, when you're at the pool or you're at the ocean, you're gonna get wet, period, okay? So with that said, I don't believe that Devin Haney has a weak chin at all whatsoever. I do believe that, Devin Haney, boxing ring IQ, his length, his size, and his respectable power. Again, a lot of people, they say Devin Haney doesn't have much power. People say that Joseph Diaz have more power, but you look at Joseph Diaz's resume, he has more fights than Devin Haney, okay? 32 fights, so total he has 34 fights, but he only has 15 knockouts, okay? So Devin Haney has 26 fights and 15 knockouts. So if anything, the power is on the same level. And you look at guys like Teofimo Lopez, who was considered to have to be a power puncher, a big puncher. Well, Teofimo Lopez in 16 fights only has 12 knockouts. So he's 17 fights, he has 12 knockouts. So Devin Haney actually has more knockouts than Teofimo Lopez. Now I know you're going to say, well, Teofimo Lopez has, 10 less fights than Devin Haney. Sure. But at the end of the day, Floyd Mayweather was considered not to be a power puncher, okay? So I believe in this fight, the ending is going, the results will be and look a lot like when Floyd Mayweather fought Arturo Gatti. I think that, you know, Devin Haney's length, his foot speed, his hand speed, his respectable power, and ultimately his accuracy, his ring IQ, is going to be too much for Joseph Jojo Diaz. Now, Joseph Diaz, he did put on the show. Again, you can't underestimate Joseph Diaz, okay? But you saw when he was in there with Gary Russell Jr., he struggled with a pure boxer, okay? And again, yes, he did beat Javier Fortuna. Javier Fortuna is not the best pure boxer. Now, Javier Fortuna is considered to be a rough, rugged, tough opponent, okay? Javier Fortuna, 36 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 25 wins by way of knockout. He himself was stopped, 32 years of age, 5'6" with a 68-inch arm reach. So again, Javier Fortuna is 2 to 3 inches shorter than Devin Haney, and Javier Fortuna has a 4-inch arm reach disadvantage considered to Devin Haney, compared to Devin Haney. At 68 to Devin Haney, 72. So Devin Haney has extremely longer arms than Javier Fortuna, and he has quicker feet. So I believe that Devin Haney will stop Joseph Jojo Diaz in the 8th round. I believe it's going to look a lot like when Floyd Mayweather fought Arturo Gatti. So let's see how this all plays out, and then we'll be en route to Devin Haney versus George Kambosos Jr., hopefully early next year. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shouts out to the entire LDBC. Shouts out to New Media. Shouts out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.